Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. This is Bernadine Wu. I see a number of folks still joining, so we're going to wait 2 minutes while everybody joins. Welcome, everybody. If you've just joined, we are going to wait another minute or two. We see lots of attendees signing on right now. Hi, everyone. If you've just recently joined, we're going to wait another minute while folks are joining. I see the attendee list going up steeply. So just hang in there. All right, so let's get started. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Bernadine Wu. I'm the founder and CEO of Fit for Commerce. And today's webinar we're excited about because we are in the run-up to holiday season. Our webinar called Bye Bye Black Friday, and we'll talk more about that later, is about extending the holiday shopping with immersive content experiences. And this topic we're very, very excited about. Let me introduce our speakers. In addition to myself, Terry Pewson is a senior consultant at Fit for Commerce. She works on many strategy and planning projects with our many retailer and brand clients. Also excited to be co-presenting with Lindsay Moore, who's the VP of Strategy at ZMAG. So what we're going to cover today is divided into a number of sessions. We always like to start off our webinars with some sort of perspective on the market and trends on our particular topic. Then we're going to talk about some of the considerations to maximizing sales during this extended holiday season. Lindsay's going to talk us through creating immersive content experiences for the holidays. She's got some terrific examples. And then we're going to talk about ideas that sell around using rich content in enterprises. We will have time for Q&A at the end, hopefully. Throughout the presentation, though, please do put in your questions now or as they come up, and I will facilitate that towards the end, unless I see a question that I can interject immediately. This is being recorded, of course, and all those registrants will get a copy of will get a link to the slide. So a little bit about Fit for Commerce. We are a boutique specialized consultancy. We're an advisory firm, often called trusted advisor to our many clients. Our clients are small, medium, and large, and extra large brands and retailers. So Fit for Commerce is a boutique consultancy. Trusted advisor to hundreds of global companies, small, medium, and large brands and retailers. We also have a notion called digital diligence, which is our philosophy and our methodology around making investment decisions. And we view most decisions as investment decisions, whether that's a small decision, or choosing a technology, or creating a strategy, or picking a marketing technique. And we like to apply that kind of rigor to these investment decisions. And I think the topic today is about how do we invest in and how do we get the most out of the next holiday season, and of course beyond. We also run a recruiting practice. We also are very active in the industry, running a site called ecommerceknowhow.com. We're partnered with the NRF, the National Retail Federation, and run the Omnichannel Retail Index. This is a benchmarking study that's done a couple times a year, and where we analyze the capabilities of retailers across omni-channel, which includes web, mobile, as well as in-store. We also run the Innovation Office, which is a service for filtering, curating, and bringing sort of the art of the possible in terms of innovation and startups and great new technologies to our clients that subscribe to this service. Lindsay, can you tell us a bit more about ZMags?
Absolutely. So ZMags was founded in 2006. We are a software company that has two different platforms, Publicator and Creator, that really focuses on content and helping retailers throughout the space really create rich and engaging experiences so that they can help convert individuals. And so that's what we're going to focus on today is what are some of the examples that our customers have leveraged and that we've seen in the space to really drive that holiday traffic and discovery for your brands.
Terrific. And you've got quite a number of great brands that probably that kind of immersive experience applies to. So we'd like to run a quick poll. It's always great to know who's in the audience. On your screens, just click on the button that applies. When did you see your holiday sales pick up in 2016? Maybe it was early, November 1st. Maybe it was Thanksgiving week. There's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then after Cyber Monday. So when did you see last year's holidays pick up? And, you know, even if you have a category that is not necessarily holiday specific, you know, if it's something that you saw something of a surge, then by all means, you know, still answer the question. We'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that. Okay, let's see what our poll results say. So still a large number, picking up November 1st, so a large number early on, we'll call it a little over a half, a third on Thanksgiving week, and then this is interesting. So Black Friday and Cyber Monday are no longer, you know, the pickup points for holiday sales, and then a few after Cyber Monday. Okay, terrific. So when we think about how we're preparing for holiday, as well as throughout the year and the customer experience that we want to provide, what we found in an interesting stat, as well as anecdotally, is that there is this gap between the customer experience to the shopper versus what retailers are, you know, what we are all trying to create and enable in order to support that customer experience. That there is this gap, and I know many of you feel it, and I know when we work with many of our clients, a lot of what we're talking about is how do we close that gap? How do we choose and prioritize some of the great things that we want to do with our websites or our digital programs or our cross-channel programs in order to create a more seamless customer experience, as well as a customer experience that builds sales, builds loyalty, and builds ongoing sort of interaction and championship in our shoppers. So these are some pretty big numbers here in terms of that gap. And so what we're always looking for, what our clients are always looking for, are ways of closing that gap in terms of tools or programs or techniques or innovation that we can really use to leverage it. So I'm going to ask my colleague Terry to go through some holiday shopping trends so that we can further set this environment for what's coming.
Thanks, Bernadine. Let's set the stage with some holiday trends and talk about what's been happening in the recent years. So first, whoops, I trigger fingers too happy. First of all, online holiday sales growth will continue to drive total retail sales growth. And last year, online saw the best ever growth at 17.8%. In addition, there's anticipated that this year's holiday online sales are going to expect to be at about $110 billion, which is almost a 16% year-over-year growth. and online sales are continuing to grow, and they will be 12% of the total retail holiday sales in 2017. In 2016, retailers saw 71% of your holiday shoppers shopping online. And what does that translate to? That translates to decreased foot traffic in your brick and mortar stores. So when do consumers start shopping? So, we saw your poll where everybody's saying basically the 1st of November, and this slide bears that out. Customers are no longer waiting for Black Friday to shop. And while 40% say they shop before November, most of the shopping occurs throughout the month of November. Last year, major retailers like Amazon, Walmart, and Best Buy promoted their Black Friday deals the week before Thanksgiving, and thereby creating a cyber week. And again, the trends hold true regardless of gender, and while more women may get a start on holiday shopping, the stereotype of men waiting until the last minute does not ring true. Only about 25% of the men do not start shopping until December. And these trends have held true for the last 5 years. And in addition, with the holiday shopping season now getting extended closer to Christmas, as online shopping has gotten easier and for customers to find the right gift in the right size and still get it on time. So what are some of the things you can do to maximize sales during this extended holiday season? We all know that shoppers are pressed for time and they want to get their shopping done, but at the same time, they are looking to be entertained and are looking for some guidance. They can be very fatigued by so much choice and so much noise in the marketplace. We are all familiar with Amazon and Walmart's pages and pages and pages of identical products that they have year-round, but especially during the holidays. So when you're planning your holiday campaigns, be sure to consider some of the following. First off, brand experience. Make sure that the campaign is engaging and memorable. And second of all, take into consideration the customer experience. Make sure to cross-sell and upsell using tools like Shop the Entire Look or Shop via a gift guide or a persona, but pay attention to keeping the shopping experience fast, easy, and efficient. Most retailers focus on holiday shopping quick and easy, but they think making it fun and engaging will require additional resources and/or time that they don't have. Most play it safe during the holidays, or they put all of their eggs into one basket with one massive, expensive campaign that takes months and months to create. This is risky and something that Fit for Commerce does not recommend in today's e-commerce environment. So here's an example of something that's quick and easy for a shopper. Let's walk through how this can stand out in a competitive environment and differentiate your site and make it appealing and interactive. So here's Godiva. Let's find a perfect gift. So with a couple of quick, easy questions, who are you shopping for? And I pick a friend, and then what's my price range? And I pick $25. And I'm instantly brought to a curated page of great gifts. I can select one, put it in my cart, and I've just I've holiday shopped for one of the people on my list. Very simple, very fun, but much more interactive than just a product list page, right? So when planning holiday campaigns, things to think about is to make sure your shopping process is fast and easy with minimal number of clicks to add to the cart. Make sure that it's engaging and memorable, and make it helpful and useful. Leverage your opportunities to upsell and cross-sell without being in your face. Shop the entire outfit directly, help them with highlighting trends or complementary products. This will ensure that you can capture your customer's intention, keep them on your site, position your brand as useful and helpful and fun to interact with, And at a minimum, you'll be making a positive brand impression during the holidays, and at a maximum, you'll win over a lifetime customer. And while it's tempting to rely on daily deals and bestseller grids during the holidays, customers and shoppers are actually more likely to purchase and engage when they can interact with a rich media experience, and some shoppers still want this type of experience. So some of the challenges to get to that is, there are resource restraints and budget constraints and time constraints, but in order to sell more inventory, increase your engagement, and secure more lifetime customers, it's important to start in developing some of these immersive experiences. And I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay to talk about how we can construct those relatively easy, despite all of these constraints that are on you.
Great, thanks, Terry. So in thinking about how we talk about constructing rich and engaging and really immersive experiences, we really first need to think about what's important for the holidays. What makes the holidays stand out? So first of all, 'tis the season of stress. I don't know about you guys, but the holidays, while I always enjoy, the extra gingerbread lattes from Starbucks, I also get pretty panicked about all the people on my list and everything that I have to buy. And it turns out I'm actually not the only one, so I'm pretty happy to hear about that. However, the side effects are pretty crazy. 33% of people feel increased heart rates when shopping during the holidays. And the stat actually shows that that's the same increase in your heart rate when running a marathon. Now, I've run a marathon, actually only a half marathon, and I think my heart rate increased a little bit more than that, but that's a pretty astounding stat. 88% of people actually experience tachycardia. Tachycardia is when your heart rate increases, but you're actually not doing anything out of the ordinary. You're not doing anything to physically stress yourself out, and yet you have this reaction. And then 88% of people also say that holiday shopping is extremely intense. Now, I'm assuming those last two stats came from the same group of people that were polled, but it goes to show that the holidays really can be an overwhelming time for a lot of us. So if we think about how that translates to your content, how should you put that into practice, we really need to think about making discovery easy and fun. As Terry was saying, we're all used to the dozens and dozens of pages on Amazon and all of the major retailers, but that's not fun. That's actually stressful to sit there and go through all of these grids. So let's look at some examples that are a little bit different, something that helps make the discovery process different and fun. So Murad is a great example. They actually have a lot of really good content. And this is a quiz that they recently put out. It's the SPF quiz. Now, for most of you, SPF is not going to be a concern around the holidays, but I love how they've set this up. What they've done is they've made it very consultative and easy to buy. As a note, as I go through these experiences, the majority of these experiences are live. So if you want to Google them and see them while we're going through, go ahead. We've tried to include the URL so you can see them afterwards. I can't guarantee how long they're up because obviously we don't have control over them, but they are fun to try for yourself. So this one says, which Murad SPF product is right for you? Start the quiz. Is oily skin a concern? Yes. Are you shiny all day long or only in the afternoon? I had never thought about myself that way, so I had to kind of take a moment and think about it. And then, do you spend 8+ hours a day looking at a digital device? I'm not sure who answers no to that. And then it gives you this product at the end. It says, okay, well, we suggest the City Skin Age Defense. And so to me, this does a couple of things. One, it's kind of fun. It's a little bit different. It's almost like that, all those quizzes you're taking on Reddit. What Disney princess are you? And then it actually walks you through what's right for you. If you try to, using that kind of same thought process, use filters on a grid to find the right product, you'd never get there. This is a much more consultative approach, almost as you would have if you're in a retail store and you're asking someone, hey, I've got this skin problem, I'm not really sure what to get. And in Murad's case, visually their products aren't necessarily very different. So in a grid style format, it doesn't necessarily pop. However, in this quiz context, it really helps to show the uniqueness of each product. And then adding to it, you can actually add directly to your cart from this page. So as an individual, you have the option to learn more and go to the product detail page, but you don't have to. You're not stuck in that sterile, never-ending cycle of category page, PDP, PDP, category page, and then going back and forth. So it's a really great user experience. Also, sidebar, they have great products. So another example is Serena and Lily. And I think this really ties in with what Terry was saying about, again, that there's endless number of choices on Amazon. In fact, I did a webinar last week for those of you who didn't catch it, and we talk about how to compete with Amazon. And one of the things we talk about is choice paralysis, where a lot of times as a shopper, if you have too many choices in front of you, it's actually a negative, right? There's this kind of happy medium of how many products should we look at. And I love this Serena and Lily example about how to mix and match your pillows. I'd never thought about mixing and matching my pillows, but what they do is they curate it. So instead of having, hey, here are 100 pillows that you can curate, they walk you through, okay, what are the 3 steps that you need to mix and match your pillows? 1, you need to set your foundation. 2, add texture. 3, make it pop. It's almost like the decor or home goods version of how to put together the right outfit. And so then what they do is, and it's a little choppy because I'm obviously trying to recreate this great digital experience into a PowerPoint, but you have these different color sets. So you've got blue and coral, and then beneath this is actually a neutral code or color palette. And then it gives you these 3 pillows, which are each carousels. And so they've curated those set of 100 or so pillows down to a smaller amount, but then let you personalize it. So again, by decreasing the number of options, but not narrowing you down to a single purchase, you really feel like, oh yeah, this is what I want, and it becomes fun to shop for. And then again, just like the Murad example, they're actually tying into their quick views. You can add it directly to your bag here. You can even swap out the colors if you like, and then away you go. So it's a really fun experience, and they did a great job with this one on mobile as well. So another thing to think about, yes, the holidays are stressful. Part of the reason I think they're sort of stressful is you're not just shopping for you. And I say usually, and we'll get to the usually part in a little bit. But in thinking about what makes it different and how do you need to change your content and think about it as a retailer when a lot of people are shopping for someone else. So we need to think about kind of guiding and reassuring. What can we do to help people narrow down that product set based on a persona or a gift type with a buying guide, right? We're also used to, okay, well, people are going to search for what they're looking for, or they're going to end up with, all of these filters. I want something that is brown, and I want something that is a small. Let's turn it on its head and really provide something of value to that consumer. What are the best Yankee swap gifts under 20 bucks? Or, what to get the grilling dad? Or my favorite is what to get the I don't need anything but your love mom, which is actually my dad in my family, not my mom. But they're really great ways to help someone make a decision around, okay, I'm looking for something for my dad. I know he grills. What should I start to look at? And actually, yes, ma'am.
Sorry to cut in, but I think this is a great, you equating this to what happens in the store during the holiday season. This is a way, if somebody comes in, they just don't know what kind of gift to get. This is a great way that you can do this and kind of create a store associate experience online.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. It's almost like that trusted advisor of how do I, instead of going through the steps of filter A and B, how do I just ask someone who knows the product set? It's a really great point. And so as a result, because again, you're trying to look at how do you talk to and sell to people who aren't necessarily your brand loyalists or your brand advocates, is think about the role that your acquisition campaigns play in here. How are you going to be able to help people discover your brand? And then once they discover your brand, provide them something that's meaningful. And so the takeaway here for me is really thinking about how you can leverage those acquisition campaigns, but not just to drive people to the site, right? I think as an industry, we've made it so simple for people to buy. We have made it so hard for them to shop. So how do we think about making these acquisition campaigns more engaging by providing helpful content that then is really easy to purchase? So a couple of examples that I really like, and again, this is a second one from Murad. They did a really great job last holiday season. They had a holiday skincare gift guide, and it actually wasn't accessible on their site. You had to see the Instagram or the Facebook ads. And so they did this entire campaign, and then what that did is it led you to a landing page, and you could then go through, and they had different personas. And this particular one was for the beauty savvy. And it walks you through for the beauty savvy versus for, I think one of them was the beauty minimalist, one was like the beauty trendsetter. What do you get for that individual or for that friend or that person? And then again, they made it really simple to buy with the one-click add to cart, while also making it easy to find more information. And the things I really like about this is, one, it's really helping to guide that individual through, but it's also kind of showing this consultative approach of, hey, we're trying to help you find something with this guide. It's not just, hey, we really want you to buy something. Again, going back to that notion that as an industry, we've made it really simple for people to buy, but kind of hard to make it, so that they could actually shop. And that one's not up anymore. All Things Barbecue, they do something that's really relevant and fun with their Father's Day gift guide. So if any of you didn't get your dad a Father's Day gift, you can get a belated one here. And they actually curated all of these items together. And so what it does for me is not only is it relevant, right? I know my dad grills, I know it's Father's Day, but you start to see, okay, you know what, my dad actually does have a spatula, but maybe it's not the spatula that I want, because who knew, apparently you can get spatulas that are for his favorite NFL team or his favorite basketball team or his favorite baseball team. And then by having all of these grouped together, you're actually kind of endorsing the other products, because if my dad has this one, then it's highly likely he's going to like one of these other ones. So it's a really great way to put items together that aren't necessarily in your typical outfit or items that go together, but they are linking them. And so I can visually say, well, All Things Barbecue says that these are great things for dad, and I know my dad has one, so he'll likely like the other ones. And then they do a really good job of pulling in items that are different amounts. And so you've got kind of your cutting boards, then you've got a really nice knife set, but then, if you really want to splurge on dad, you can buy him a pizza oven. So I said that people shop for someone else usually. And so some interesting stats for those of you that watch Parks and Rec, the idea of treat yourself. 77% of people say that they are actually going to take advantage of holiday deals for themselves. Now, some of those people may be buying for themselves. Some of those people may be buying for themselves for someone else to give to them. That's usually my strategy. They are spending a higher amount on themselves than they are on the average individual on their list, but that amount is still pretty small compared to the overall. So they're spending on average $132 on themselves, but that's in comparison to the $908 they're spending on average across their holiday gift list. So it's important to think about, okay, yes, you're trying to drive new traffic, but you're also looking at your customer base, because they are going to end up buying for themselves, as well as bookmarking, hey, mom, get me this for the holidays. So the third thing to think about for the holidays is that there's a deadline. The problem with this deadline is it's a deadline that you don't actually know about, right? We always think about kind of this Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the lead up to Christmas. But in reality, there's Christmas, there's Hanukkah, there's Office Yankee swaps, there's Friendsgivings. There's a ton of different deadlines, and you don't actually know what those deadlines are. One of my kind of favorite examples, if you've been living under a rock the past couple of years and have not seen this multi-million-dollar trend of ugly Christmas sweaters, the ugly Christmas sweater sales cycle is actually peaks in late November, because the majority of us, and I say us because yes, I have this really great ugly Christmas sweater that has a chunky Santa on the front that is 3D. We wear those to all of our friends' houses and to our office parties, and those happen much earlier in the season. So take a look at your analytics around that deadline and see if there are any smaller trends. Are there any product sets within your base that maybe apply to some of those earlier deadlines? Are there any trends that you should look at? Maybe all of your products are actually being sold for the third and the fourth week of December, but maybe not. What do those look like? And don't forget to look at those smaller trends. The other thing about having a deadline is the buying process is underway. So if we look at what that traditional consumer buying process is, the first step is problem recognition. Well, in the holiday sense, problem recognition has already happened, right? We know that we have to buy a gift. the only difference is, for some people, that recognition of the problem starts a little bit later. Hence to Terry's slide that 25% of men wait until December. I'm actually surprised it's not higher. And so when we think about the deadline and what that means, it really means that we need to be relevant to our consumers. And it seems like such a almost obvious thing to say, but sometimes we just need to repeat it and look at some of those examples of how we can be incredibly relevant to our customer base. So one of my favorite examples is New York & Company. And they last year did their first fall fashion runway as part of New York Fashion Week. They'd never done it before. They are a fast fashion company. And so New York Fashion Week was a little bit different for them because, you know, their everyday consumer, she wasn't able to make it to the fashion show, right? The fashion show is, and New York Fashion Week is incredibly prestigious. It's all over social media. If you're a fashionista, you're following it. Not only are you looking at what's going down the runway, but you're also monitoring who wears what to what show. And so it's this very exclusive event. And New York & Company said, but we want to make it to where she can actually attend and she can feel like she's in the moment. We want something that's relevant to her. And so they had this Fashion Week runway show on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. And by 8:30 p.m., so 2 hours later, they had all of the videos and still shots from the runway show sent to the e-commerce team. And by 9:30 p.m., so 1 hour later, they had an entire landing page live with all of the videos, all of the stills, and completely shoppable, and an email campaign sent out to the customer base about it. So within 3 hours of that show. It's really hard to get something that's more relevant for an individual in that moment. You know your customer base is watching this and they want to be a part of it. And New York & Company did such a great job of bringing that to her and making sure that they were relevant with what was important to her in that moment. Now, the difference is obviously New York & Company knew that they had this particular date of when the runway show was going to be, and so they sort of made it relevant to her. So it's a little bit more difficult as a retailer during the holidays thinking about what will be relevant to her, but you know your brand and you know what you can do to make a fun and engaging experience that's in step. And then, of course, it's mobile friendly. I mean, you didn't think we were going to make it through a whole webinar without talking about mobile. So,
and in addition, think about it too, when you say making it relevant and customers are doing information searches, think of that in terms of when you want to put some of this content up. Customers may be searching and trying to put together their gift lists earlier than you are thinking about. So make sure that you start thinking about early November, even if they don't shop and complete a purchase, this content that you're putting up can help drive their decision making further down the road.
Such a great point, Terry, and that's something that really hits home with some of the stats around cart abandonment, right? We see cart abandonment on average throughout the year to be between 70 and 72%, obviously depending upon your vertical, but across the industry leading up to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, that peaks at between 96 and 98%. And so people are doing a lot of that discovery earlier in the process, which is where this content really needs to play, but then are making the purchase a little bit later. So that's a fabulous point. It also is a little bit scary probably for all the retailers because that means the deadline for this content is even earlier. Sorry, guys. And New York & Company has 60% of their traffic on mobile, so it's important for them to really have that that mobile experience. And then the fourth one is thinking about being responsible for others' gifts, right? So a lot of times moms are going to buy things for their teenage kids to give to dad because they're the wallet. And so how do you think about the fact that there may be multiple gifts involved or multiple purchases, multiple people's purchases stemming from one particular person? And so let's think about add-ons and how do we cross-sell and upsell with this particular holiday. So one of my favorites is Hush. For those of you who are in the US, Hush is a very cool UK brand that's pretty hot right now. Check them out. They're really great. And they created this Wear Now, Wear Later campaign. And so they have in the middle kind of the staple or central item. And then on either side, they have two different carousels about how you can wear it now and how you can wear it into the next season as it gets a little bit colder. This was their transition from, I believe, from summer to fall, although it may have been from spring to summer. and how you can really curate this outfit. And so back to Terry's point around it being kind of similar to a retail experience, you're really merchandising an entire outfit. But the genius behind this is twofold. One, not only are you merchandising one outfit, you're actually merchandising two outfits because you're doing for the seasons. And then two, you're helping to justify that purchase, right? Don't worry. You can wear that a whole nother season. You're not paying however many pounds for that shirt for just this season. It's going to last you double the amount of time. And it's also providing that additional consultative approach of, hey, how do I merchandise this outfit? A lot of people want fashion tips, especially from a brand that they really like or that they find an affinity with. And so this is a great way to do it. And you can see that they have these carousels that will kind of go through, and you can add different items and kind of curate the look that's right for you in this particular one. And they go through a couple of different outfit examples. The next one is Ethan Allen. So it's a very different use case, but again, how do I help my customers to see the greater vision, right? Whether that vision is an outfit or whether it's an entire room. I know what my style is, I know what my mom's style is, but I don't necessarily know how things are going to fit into it. So I really want to paint that vision as a retailer for what does the overall emotional state look like. I don't know about you, but when I look at this photo, I don't see a chair and a couch and a table. I see a really great nook where I see where my bicycle can fit, and that nook looks great to read a book, and I can imagine the morning light coming in, and it's a much more emotional feeling for me than just looking at a grid with a couple of products. And so they have, Ethan Allen actually has probably a couple hundred of these on their site because they have this great imagery. Now, I know everyone's not going to have this great imagery. Ethan Allen is very lucky in that respect. But they do have all of these great rooms, and so they take different angles of the room and different products, and they go through and they'll highlight them, and then they make it really simple to buy, right? Again, completely integrated in with their quick views so that then I can click on it and see if it's something I want. But the joy and the genius of the quick views is it doesn't take me out of that emotional state. I'm still thinking about that room. And I might say, you know what? $259 for a leather pillow, not my cup of tea. And then I can just X out and go right back to the experience. I'm not then navigating to a PDP, getting really excited, seeing the price, and then going boo, and then having to press the back button, waiting again for a load. It's all a seamless experience, which is great. And they're doing a fabulous job of really painting that vision for the individual. So if we walk through and kind of recap and looking at what makes holiday content a little bit different and how can we as retailers think about what that customer journey and experience should be, first of all, keep in mind holidays are stressful. The content needs to be fun. It makes it easy to discover products and make it really easy to purchase. So you'll notice in a lot of these experiences that we walk through, the purchase is actually not the first thing you think about. It's not, hey, here's a product, buy it, here's the price. It's, hey, we thought that you might like this. Here's something that adds value, whether it's what product might be right for you or how to style a room the correct way, but then it's dead simple to buy. So you're really establishing that connection with the individual. You're helping to kind of create this brand relationship, but you're not making it hard to buy. That true marriage of content and commerce is really important when we think about this. Helpful, relevant, easy to buy. Think about the fact that people aren't shopping for themselves. How can you leverage your acquisition campaigns? Is there a way to reach out to a different audience or an adjacent audience and really provide some value to them on how to go through their shopping list? And that there's a deadline. Don't forget about some of the smaller trends in your data, whether you might have products that are applicable to a certain time of year or a certain deadline that may be different than others, and make sure that that experience, no matter what it is relevant to the consumer. It's relevant to what device they're on. It's relevant to who they are. It's relevant to what they're shopping for. And then don't forget to capitalize on add-ons. The cross-sell and the upsell are really important and big in the holiday season. So we've talked about how these experiences are a really great way to drive traffic and conversions and really help people throughout the holidays find the right product and really check those boxes off their list, and that holiday season starts a lot earlier. So how do we think about these experiences when they're traditionally pretty time intensive and they're resource intensive? You think about the coding that has to go into all of these, the collaboration with your IT or your dev team. So you kind of dream up something, yeah, I have this great idea for an experience. You work with your IT team, and then maybe 4-6 weeks later it gets published, and fingers crossed that it all goes correctly, because any changes are obviously going to have to go back through that whole process, so it's a little nerve-wracking. Well, the interesting thing is all the experiences that we showed today were actually created and published leveraging a tool that ZMAGS provides, ZMAGS Creator, without a single line of code. So we really wanted to concentrate in this webinar on what are some of the things you need to think about for your holiday content. And if this resonates with you and there's some really great experiences that you want to do and you say, you know what, but we don't have the resources to create it, definitely take a look at our platform. I'm happy to walk you through how it can be applicable for your brand and how we can get you up and running before the holiday season to really create some of these. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Terry.
Great. I think Bernadine has asked for anybody to submit questions. I think one of the other things to think about too as you go through and how you create this content, I think for the retailers out there, it's you should be taking a look at how to create personas and using your segmentation in order to figure out what content you should curate and pull together that can be useful and help answer a question. So I think this is going back as Lindsay said, and really taking a look at your analytics and your segmentation and seeing what kinds of curated experiences you can pull together that speak to you, that will resonate with your customers.
That's a great point, Terry, and it kind of leads into this one question that we have here, which is the content. Once it's created, it looks really great, but it looks like it takes a lot of time and resources to build. So how do you prioritize, or how do you concentrate on your, 1 or 2 places to focus on? How do you go about that? Maybe, Lindsay, you can start off first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a content perspective, in thinking about the best way to go about it is looking at, from the retailers we talk to, usually they have almost a dream or a wish list that they've thought about, hey, it'd be really great to do this content. We've had customers say, hey, we have a 2-year backlog of content that we really want to create. So usually the ideas are already there around what that content can or should look like. For the holidays, I really think the gift guides and the discovery is the way to start. So how can you help walk someone through your product set? Are there any places where your product set is confusing, especially in cosmetics? How-tos are really big. How to get this particular look, or how to select what's the right product for your skin type. For more of the fashion side, it's how do I create that vision or that look that I want? So a really great set of on-brand outfits. I think that's really the way to go. Ultimately, you know your brand better than anyone, so thinking about what that content can look like and then tying it to your retention and your acquisition campaigns. As a retailer, you have so much data in your ESP or housed elsewhere. You know who those individuals are. You know if they're sales shoppers versus trendy shoppers. You know demographically, where they're at, and geographically where they're at. So thinking about how you can drive them with those highly segmented campaigns, as Terry talked about a minute ago, to a really exciting on-site experience. Of course, to do that, you've got to be able to create these campaign pages really, really quickly. So that's where you have to look at your resources versus having a technology that's outsourced. But how can you make those retention campaigns more successful? And then the same for acquisition campaigns. How can we make those acquisition campaigns more successful by having these interactive landing pages that are targeted specifically to that demographic?
And then I would add to Lindsay's answer that, in addition, to using segmentation and personalization and creating personas, you also, particularly as we're rapidly heading into the holiday season, what your company has placed their bets on from a product standpoint, and you should take a look at what you really put your trends behind for the holiday, and see if you can create content, engaging content around that to really highlight those products.
Question about video versus this kind of an immersive experience. Lindsay, what kind of advice would you give someone who's thinking about, should I do this versus video, do it at the same time? Do they work together well, not work together well? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. I think video can definitely add to an experience, especially if it's a how-to that's a visual how-to. But you also need to keep in mind, what device are they on? So do you need to have it if it's on mobile, for example? Thinking about what device people are coming from, and then also making it really simple. So there's nothing worse when you go to a website and there's a video that starts auto-playing that you don't realize your volume is not muted and you're in an office setting or wherever. So just the small things about incorporating video, make sure that the user experience is there. Really think about, is it necessary content? Does it add value to the consumer? Don't put it in just because you have a great video and you're really proud of it. I've done that. It doesn't always work out well. And then think about what device they're on and think about, what that end experience is. Is it going to provide value for them? But absolutely. I'm going to quote Murad again.
Have you seen video work with someone also using ZMags, and is there interaction between them?
Yeah, there are a couple of really great ones. Godiva has a really great brand page where they talk about who is Godiva as a brand as they try to really branch out to a younger audience, and they incorporate different videos around how the chocolate is made and introducing to the chefs. If you go to the Godiva site under Experience, it's Chocolate Experience. And then Murad does one on the cosmetic side around how to get the right makeup look. And those are both really helpful because the videos in both scenarios, they are tailored to the customer experience. So they're muted, they're not, they're going to autoplay, but they're not going to interrupt whatever you're doing. And one allows you to interact with the chefs and kind of that experience if you want to, but you can also keep scrolling. And the same goes for the Murad side. So I think it's, again, about finding something that adds value to the consumer and what that experience looks like.
Okay. Here's a question here. So it seems like a lot of this content would resonate year-round. So maybe how does the holiday content best practices differ from the rest of the year?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, even looking at a lot of the examples we walked through, right, most of them weren't holiday. Most of them are things that people are trying to incorporate throughout the year. I think from a holiday perspective, we walked through some of the items that make holiday a little bit different, that it's stressful, that you really need to focus on not just your core audience of people, that people are buying for other people, and what that looks like. So there's definitely more of a crunch, which I'm sure you all feel during the holiday seasons around purchasing. And so thinking about those buying guides and those gift guides in a bigger way. So a brand page, for example, that's interactive, while great to introduce someone to your brand, is not going to resonate as much during the holiday season. So thinking about really we know there's a problem, we now have to solve it during that search for information and then evaluation of alternatives in that buying process. How do you help those two steps so that you can ultimately sell the most during the holiday season?
Yeah, I think.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Lindsay's right here, and it's the guided selling, and it's kind of thinking about the person who would have rushed into a store and said, I have to get a gift for somebody and I need it right away, and how do you help them not sending them to a bunch of gridded product landing page or product category pages, but getting them to an answer quickly. So Lindsay, when she was talking about some of these brand experiences, those are probably better left for other times of the year. The experiences that you really want to highlight are something that with a few quick questions you can get somebody to a curated page of content that will help them make a purchase quickly.
Hey, Lindsay, there's a specific question here about is the product recommendation tool something that the ZMags platform created? Did you hear that? Did we lose Lindsay?
There's nothing like forgetting to turn off your mute button. It happens to me all the time. So I'm going to interpret what I think that question means, and for whoever asked that question, if I'm interpreting it incorrectly, just type in a different way to ask it. So in terms of personalization or the recommendations, I didn't show any examples that had like the recommendations engines that you would typically think, right, look at this product, here are 4 others like it. You can integrate that in leveraging our platform. We feel that there are a lot of providers out there that do that well, so we don't have our own in-house. If you're talking about the kind of the what color scheme for Serena and Lily might be right for you, the blue, the coral, the neutral, or the what type of skin tone are you with the Murad quiz, those are types of content that we partner with customers to really walk them through. We're finding that this movement towards immersive experiences that are really kind of integrated with the shopping experience, it's still kind of new, and brands are learning how can I leverage that in the cycle. And so we really put a lot of effort into what are good experiences, why are they good, what makes them convert more, what makes them have higher engagement and lower bounce rates, how does it affect the lifetime value. So from that perspective, we'll coach customers through the types of content. If you're talking about the actual technology behind including recommendations into an experience, we'll just integrate in with whatever you have existing. We don't have that. And if it wasn't either of those answers, I'm really sorry.
I think that makes sense, that that the actual data behind what products to recommend is going to come from your your product recommender or personalization tool. But what's nice here is that that data can be incorporated into what's being sent out, whether that is, if you've got personalization on your site, then that means that maybe on the website, what one person sees as a barbecue kit is different from one segment to another, one person to another, and then certainly in emails. Okay, what retailers do you think do content well now? I know we saw a couple of different examples throughout the webinar. Any others?
Yeah, I'll talk to a couple others, and I think everyone, I will say as an industry, I think no one is there in doing it great, right? It's always kind of a moving target in retail. I feel like e-commerce evolves so quickly, and we're always trying to leverage the newest and the best technology and think about what does that customer want, or what is the customer demanding of us as an industry. So some great things that I've seen. New York & Company, we talked through their runway show and how they had it after 3 hours. Well, Vivienne Westwood last week actually live streamed their runway show, and while their products aren't fast fashions, they didn't have them available right then. They did have this great landing page, and so you could really explore some of the Vivienne Westwood experience. And for those of you who have not seen a Vivienne Westwood runway, it was an experience. It was not people just walking down a runway. And so that was interesting because it was a way to connect with a brand that I would not have thought about being able to connect to previously. I think Burberry always does a great job in terms of content. I think that having something a little more interactive would be great, but they always really focus on that content first. And then I'm biased towards a lot of the ZMAGS customers that we've worked with around those acquisition campaigns, because there's nothing worse than having a digital ad and you get really excited for a brand and then they just drop you on a category page. So brands that do the digital acquisition channel on site really well, like Murad, I really like those.
Love it. Okay. So this presentation will be shared with attendees. We did get a couple of questions on that. A link will go out. I do want to invite everyone to sign up for the ebook. There's a tiny URL that you see there on your website, or you can always email us at marketing@fitforcommerce.com. I really want to thank Lindsay for a terrific presentation and sharing some great experiences. And what we've seen in the marketplace is that this notion of an immersive experience and engagement is only going to get more and more kind of competitive and more immersive. So we really encourage everyone to consider this as both a conversion optimizer as well as an engagement and loyalty optimizer. Terry, I want to thank you as well for sharing your experience with us and some of the trends. Again, thank you everybody for joining our webinar today. Thank you to ZMAGS for sponsoring, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.